Hi there, Kerry from the Soap Coach here, and today I am talking about why I don't overthink social media as a handmade business owner. So I think social media is very much a love it or hate it thing these days. Some of us love it, some of us hate it, and there's not much of an in-between. It's a time suck for me, or has been a time suck for me, and I know quite often a lot of people don't know what to post. They might not understand the tech. It's trying to keep up with, especially on Instagram, all the different features that are available is huge. And quite often a lot of us just don't want to dance around, point, lip sync, even show our face or do videos. And often there's a bit of lethargy around it because we don't get much feedback or interaction. So there is quite a lot going on. That said, I do think that we need a presence on social media these days. Whether we like it or not, it is expected. It is one avenue that many customers may come to you via in one form or another. It can be quite a good way of getting people to see you initially. I don't think it's the best way of them staying in your world, but I do think it's quite a good way of people seeing you initially sometimes, not always. It's an audience builder alongside other methods. That said, if you have a business account on social media, you are almost certainly being bombarded by so-called experts saying to you that you must do this, you must do that. This is trending, try this, but I'm not a social media expert, obviously, but they all say different things, and it does make me wonder. Obviously, everyone's different and people have different preferences, but my take on it is, by all means, follow all these other people for inspiration and take what you want to from them, but keep it in perspective. So that's why I don't overthink it. At the time of doing this video, it's 2024. Unless something drastic changes, I think that will stay the same, for me at least. And this is why, really. So I'm going to jump straight in and give you my reasons as to why I don't worry. Okay, so much of the time, I'm looking at my notes as always, much of the time the reach in social media is awful, absolutely terrible. We complain about the algorithm, but the bottom line is, and this is my view, there's so much more content out there now than ever before. And it just stands to reason. If there's 20 times more content now than there was 2 years ago, we can only see so much in the time that we're spending on social media. So if we're spending half an hour on social media and there's 20 times more content now than there was 2 years ago, we are only going to see a fifth of the possible content that could be shown to us compared with 20 years ago. Hopefully that makes sense. But the bottom line is, and it seems simplistic, but if there's that much more content, you're going to see a smaller quantity of it that's relevant to you. So as a business owner, if you are putting content out there and there's 20 times more content similar to yours, then yours is going to be shown to only 5% of what you may have been shown to 2 years ago. I hope that makes sense. So don't spend hours wasting time on it. That's the bottom line. My next thought is authenticity, horrible word, but relevant really. If you are hopping on doing all different things, then your brand or you are not being true to yourself. You're just copying other people. And it just doesn't come across. It's quite confusing, insincere, not very genuine, not very unique. So that's another factor to take into account. Consistency. Trends come and go on social media, as we know. If we are trying to focus on trends rather than what we're putting out there, then it's going to we will become inconsistent on there. It's just you'd spend too much time thinking about transitions or music or whatever to worry about what you're putting out. So I think the messaging and branding might be lost along the way somewhere. So consistency is more important than following trends or doing everything that you need to be, or that you're told you should be doing. Quantity. Now, Instagram have recently said that putting more content out will lead to your account growing, which initially slightly horrified me, but it doesn't anymore, and there's good reason for that. Keeping your post simple but relevant, so putting out a photograph or a short video of you doing something, rather than you trying to do some fancy trend or spending hours finding a piece of music that will match exactly what you're doing, is going to allow you to put out more posts in a shorter space of time. And this will mean that you can spend just 5 minutes popping a photograph on, a bit of wording over the top, short bit of text. That's all you need to do. So I feel that keeping your post simple but relevant is the way forward. Target audience. Not all of your followers or target audience will appreciate some of the trends that are going around at the moment. So again, keeping to being you and doing things that you do well, and looking at what you think your customers will like and what feels comfortable is going to be far more engaging in the long run than jumping around pointing to letters. And don't get me wrong, I've been there, I've done it, I've tried to do all this in the past, and I've now come full circle and thought, not doing that anymore. It's stressful, it's a waste of time. So yeah, target audience is probably easier to keep on cue if you're being you. I think that's it. No, it's not it. Resource allocation. Sorry, I've written all my notes down on a piece of paper, as I always do. Resource allocation. So trying to create masterpieces on video, to put it bluntly, because I do see some that are masterpieces. It's so time consuming. You can spend 30 minutes or an hour trying to create one reel. It's crazy. I'm not doing it anymore. I would much rather spend my time creating something which is on my blog or a YouTube video which will have far more longevity. And I'll come to that in the next bit. So really it's all about not spending too much of your precious working day creating stuff for social media. And that leads me nicely onto the next point, which is time span. So most posts will only be shown for 24 hours or so, and then they disappear into the ether, generally not to be seen again unless somebody specifically looks at your account. Why on earth would we spend 30 minutes or an hour creating something which has a short time span? Only 100 people might see it, scrolling past it. Only 10 people might pop a like, or if you're really lucky, a comment on there. So I would much rather spend my time creating a blog post or a YouTube video which goes on a platform, particularly on my blogs, where it's evergreen. In fact, YouTube is pretty evergreen as well. And by evergreen, I mean that people will find those months and years later. A lot of my blogs I wrote 2 or 3, 4 years ago, and they're still being visited on a regular basis. And that just doesn't happen with social media. So, and then I will pull a piece of that as an extract and use it in social media as well. So it's kind of like a double whammy. You do the work once somewhere else, and then you use a bit of that for your social media. So hopefully that gives you permission, if you need it, not to overthink your social media. Just show up 10 or 15 minutes a day. Use a format that you find easy to produce on a regular basis. And yeah, just do it consistently and put out something that's relevant and interesting, but quick and easy for you to make. Okay?